so as to ensure that going into the future, these things don't happen.
As we gear into the 2024 general elections, the National Democratic Congress and its flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, have promised key reforms in the educational sector ahead of the elections. At the launch of the party's youth manifesto, flag bearer John Mahama said that the next NDC administration will revitalize the education sector by pursuing some key policies to promote quality education and improve infrastructure in the educational system. He said that the Youth Manifesto is the party's pledge to the Ghanaian youth and the party's commitment to alleviating the plight of the youth.
The next NDC government will improve the free SHS program. We will engage the stakeholders in education and ensure proper infrastructure and sustainable dedicated funding for free SHS. We shall also decentralize the procurement of food and other supplies to the headmasters and school basers in order to improve the quality of food and also boost the local economies in the districts where the schools are located. We shall expand access by building more infrastructure in existing secondary schools, and we shall dedicate funding to completing the E-blocks in order that more children can have the opportunity to go to school. We will abolish the double track system. So that all our children can go to school at the same time and vacate at the same time. Kids will not come and stay at home for 4 months and go to school having forgotten everything they learned in the previous term. Moreover, tertiary students face financial barriers with over 40% struggling to afford education and accommodation. And as I recently announced during a visit to the University of Ghana, my government will partner with the private sector to demarcate a portion of the vast tracts of land that the universities are holding to construct hostels for students on campus at reasonable rates. The next NDC.
So let's take a look at some of the key policies that the NDC and its flag bearer, Mr. John Mahama, are talking about. So the NDC says that they will extend the free senior high school policy to private institutions. No more will the free senior high school policy, a flagship program of the Nana Addo administration, be for only government institutions. Private institutions will also find expression under this policy if voted into power. The NDC also says that there will be no academic fees for level 100 university students. So when you gain admission into any of the universities, your first year will be free of academic fees. You wouldn't have to think about where and how to get money to pay your fees. The NDC also says that they will abolish the teacher licensure examinations and make it part of the final year program. This way, the teachers won't have to finish their exams and then on a later date go and write their licensure examination. The NDC and John Mahama also saying that they will launch a no fees stress initiative. This initiative will provide fee paying support to eligible students through the Students' Loans Trust Fund. The professional institutions of architects and engineers will also be engaged to provide a uniform design or uniform designs and costing for hostels to be built on campuses so that there will be bed for all. In this way, or by this promise, students won't have to be worried or won't worry their heads over where to sleep when they gain admission into the university. Joining us on the line is a ranking member on education. He is Peter Nochu Kotoe. He is the Akachi North MP, and we will have a conversation with him on these proposed reforms by the NDC and its flag bearer, Mr. John Mahama. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and how are you doing?
Fine, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us on ABC News GH.
Thank you, too.
What does your party mean when it says that it will grant free academic fees to all first-year students of the universities?
Yes, thank you very much, my sister. We are all very much aware of the serious financial challenges facing everybody in this country. The economy has become so challenging that people are finding it very difficult to do a number of things for themselves and their dependents. Now, if you look at education thoroughly, there is a rising cost of tertiary education in the country, and many have gotten admission to do degree courses, especially first degree, but they are unable to take advantage of the offer because of financial challenges. When you gain admission to a tertiary institution like the university, you will first have to pay academic user fee. You will again have to look for money to pay for the residential facility user fee. Then a number of other things that will be necessary for you to go into campus or residence. So we have decided as a party that no, there is a need for us to come to the aid of parents and guardians, that to relieve them of that stress. The party, when we come into government, will take up the academic user fee on level 100, so that the parents will only have to look for probably academic facility like a residential, and then they will go into residence and study. And going forward, you know, the hostel facilities there are very expensive these days. So we'll also get into partnership with investors or individuals and put up hostels that will be affordable to the students. So these are the issues we are talking about. It's support we are going to give them. Then when you go to level 200, you can take the student loan, which will enhance, so that you can get money from there, pay your fees, and any other thing that you will need to do. We will not stop there. You know, every year government gives the universities subvention. We will continue with that one also, so that the universities will have enough money to run the administration of the institutions.
Okay, sir, but how will the policy be funded? Because your party criticized the current government for lack of dedicated funding to the free SHS. So how will this policy that you are proposing be funded?
Yes, you know, when we come into power, we are going to realign our priorities. Where we know we need money for development, we will have to do so. The way we spend money frivolously in Ghana now on the part of government is very disappointing. You look at the budget of government machinery, that is the office of the president, is too big. We will have to cut down on that to a very large extent. That is why President Mahama is promising that on assuming office, he will reduce the number of ministers. He will reduce the number of other appointees. If you go to current some organizations now, there is a chief executive, then there are about 3 deputies of the chief executive. There are so many special assistants to the assistant chief executive. So the payroll has become so choked, but he is promising that he's going to reduce that number and money can be saved for things like this nature. And we will also make sure that we cut down on frivolous expenditures. If you hire a jet for the president, within 9 months you spend over 60 million on charges. Why can't the president travel with a commercial aeroplane to whatever destination he is going? That is what we are trying to do. And if we do so, we will make money and then pay the fees. We know that per the budget, we will need about 270 million to 290 million each year for that. That is the minimum anyway. We should be able to do it once we have the money. We cut down on expenditures that are not necessary. We will be able to do it.
Okay. Sir, is that to say that in your first year of government, we should see this proposal or this reform taking place?
Yes, we have promised that anyone who will get admission to tertiary education in 2025, NDC will take office on 7th January 2025. So anyone who will get admission in the 2025 year, that is next year, to any of the tertiary institutions, to expect government to pay the fees on his or her behalf. It will take effect next year.
I'd like to know your thoughts and your opinion on the issue of brain drain in the educational sector, seeing as the Auditor General's report showed that many of the lecturers who took study leave to go for further studies have not returned.
Yeah, that is rather unfortunate. As a Committee on Education, we have been meeting the heads of tertiary institutions, and they complain to us every time that some Ghanaians are not patriotic. They take the study leave, they go and refuse to come back. Even while there, they take their salaries while having their studies, and they refuse or fail to come back and continue with their work for which they were employed and then sent for further studies. It's rather unfortunate. I think if we improve upon the conditions of service for those in the tertiary institutions, I think we will not experience the brain drain so much. So we'll look at it very carefully and make sure that the conditions are made better so that we can retain them. Or when they go on further studies, they can return to their various institutions to continue work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the day.
Well, Honorable Peter Nochu-Kotoe is a ranking member on the Education Committee in Parliament. Also joining us on Zoom to discuss this educational reform is the Deputy Director for the Institute of African Studies, Patrick Appiah-Dankwa. Good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us on ABC News GH. With this issue of educational reforms which have been proposed by the NDC and their flag bearer, Mr. John Mahama, should the free academic fees for tertiary students be a prioritized policy at this point in time?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners once again. We are still grappling with matters pertaining to free SHS. And we are still waiting for a policy document from the government. I think it's too early for the NDC to give us promises on free level 100 fees. This is because, ever since the free SHS started, we've had significant issues with it, and there hasn't been a policy review. So I believe that the NDC may not have a lot of data to make this decision now. Number two, you need to do a needs assessment. And when you do this needs assessment, you do it taking into consideration the stakeholders of education. And that hasn't been done. When you do this needs assessments, it tells us the reason why this is supposed to be done. Because, in fact, you agree with me that everybody is in trouble now. Everybody is in some kind of financial hardship now. So you need to give us the reason why you think for the level 100 this should be done. But personally, I see it as a target by both parties to promise these children who constitute about 500,000 over a promise to win their votes, because a proper needs assessment hasn't been done, a policy document hasn't been communicated. So from our end, we don't know why and how they intend to carry this out.
With a ranking member on the education committee, and he said that in order to carry out this policy, they are going to cut down on expenditure, seeing as the current government has been spending so much on expenditure, and cutting down on expenditure is going to be a boost for them to be able to carry out this policy.
Now, cutting down the expenditure alone is not data enough. What they have to tell us is that if they are cutting down on expenditure, how much do they hope to get from this expenditure that they are going to cut down? If they can give us the figures that if we cut down on these expenditures, we are going to make about 200 million Ghana cedis, or we are going to make about 300 million Ghana cedis, and we think that should go into this, then they might probably start communicating. But I think it's just a political talk to say that they are going to cut down on expenditures, and if we cut down on these expenditures, the monies should be enough to meet what you are going to do. So there's still a gray area over there. Unless they've communicated one to you, we don't have those figures.
Oh, well, the NDC have also promised that they will decentralize supply of food to SHSs. They have said that this will help to mitigate the issue of no food stuff to cook for the students in our second cycle institutions. Do you think this is an antidote to curb the issue of supply challenges?
Yes, I think that may help. I think that may help because, you know, when it comes to education, it is not just government. It is government, it is the school facilities and the home facilities. Now, if it's decentralized, now we know that directly the heads and leaders of the school would have immediate access to that. And they would have to report to the parents of these children so that if they are not managing it well, then they can be queried or they can be critiqued significantly by the parents. But now, if there is whenever there are issues of feeding, what happens is that the school heads and the head of the educational directorate, all the information they give the parents is that government hasn't brought supply. But if we know that this is at the level of the school heads and the municipal heads, what is going to happen is that it will be easier for the parents and the parents to contribute even to that system, because the parents should come in. Free SHS is supposed to help, but in cases where the government is not able to fulfill their promises 100%, I think the parent-teacher associations are to come in and support. So if it's done this way, what's going to happen is that now it will be easier for the parents to work closely with the school to supplement in the case where they have challenges. Because we've had information that some schools don't take bread, and if they should get bread, it should be once a week. Some eat like twice a day, and it's not the best. So I think if it's decentralized, it will be easier for accountability as well. Yeah.
We also want to look at the issue of brain drain in our tertiary institutions. Many of the lecturers have gone for further studies. They are on study leave, are being supported by our resources as a nation, and after their studies they do not return. What is accounting for this from your point of view from the tertiary institution, and what do you think can be done to curb the occurrence?
I think we need to take care of our best minds very well. Now, if you look at the visa classifications that European countries and North America they have, it is set up in such a way that it's easy for them to get the best people from every country. So we need to also make a conscious effort that we are putting a lot of systems in place to keep our best workforce. And now, if they are leaving and not returning, that should tell us that they are not happy. That should tell us that they are not satisfied. And for how long will this continue? This is not even just with the tertiary institutions. Doctors are leaving, nurses are leaving, engineers are leaving. So if we don't have a sit down with them sample their views, and find out why this is happening, and remunerate them better, give them better conditions of service, it will get to a time they would all leave. So we shouldn't just complain about it being a bad move by them, but we should find out, we should ask ourselves, why is it that they are all leaving? If they have to be remunerated better, if they have to be given better conditions of service, let us take that as a priority. Let us cancel certain unnecessary government spending and certain unnecessary ministries and take care of those who control and help our human minds. So I think we need to look at the trend and rather take care of them so that they stay and continue to look after our young brains in the universities and the other tertiary institutions.
Indeed, we need to take care of them, but is the right channel taking a steady leave, using resources of the nation, and then not coming back? Is that the right channel to
It is
use?
not. It is not. It is not at all. But there's a trend. It is not, but there's a trend. So if there's a trend, you need to do a trend analysis. You need to study the trends. I hope you understand. So this is not the first time that tertiary institution heads have taken steady leave and left the country. I mean, it's been happening, but not at this rate. If we should take some data from the immigration, you notice that we have a lot more of our people leaving the country. So there's a trend that we need to study, analyze, and solve. So what they are doing is not the best. But if everyone is towing that line, then we need to sit down and have a discussion and not just say they are doing the wrong thing. Let's criticize them. We'll be criticizing them on air. We'll be criticizing them on radio, on TV, and everything. And they will be leaving. And they are going to leave us with the, if I should put it for the want of a better word, they are going to leave us with the second choice lecturers, the second choice workforce that the country does not need to be at the level that they are, but to be understanding those who are leaving. So we need to analyze the trend, find out why this is happening, and take care of them so that they stay. Because if everyone is leaving, then that means there's an entrenched problem that is driving them out of the country.
Thank you for joining us on ABC News GH.
Thank you, and thank you to your listeners.
Okay. So, well, that was Patrick Appiah Dankwa. He is the Deputy Director for the Institute of African Studies. Let's take a break. We'll be back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's move into the world of business. Well, in business, Bank of Association of Banks has called on the Bank of Ghana to publish the names of businesses and individuals sanctioned for issuing dark checks. The association believes that publishing these names in national newspapers is vital for restoring trust in checks as a trustworthy means of payment. This call follows a notice of sanctions from the central bank that banned 245 business entities and 45 individuals from issuing checks in Ghana for 3 years and from accessing new credit facilities from the banking system for 3 years effective 28th June 2024. Still in business, according to the World Bank, tax exemptions cost Ghana some 1.8% of its annual GDP, a value which is equivalent to about 72% of all VAT revenue collected. This figure was captured in the 8th edition of the Economic Update for Ghana report by the World Bank. The report indicated that Ghana's recently raised statutory VAT rate of 15% is broadly in line with the levels of her regional peers. However, exemptions and additional levies create numerous distortions. The report also concluded that Ghana collects less revenue from excise duties than its structural peers, stating that at about 1.8% of GDP, Ghana's 7-year average collection rate for excise duties fall below 2.1% average across low-income countries. Globally, most countries collect excise duties equivalent to at least 2% of GDP. However, Ghana collects approximately 0.1% of GDP. More in our local stories. The flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, has stated that the party does not take the massive support from the Volta region for granted. According to him, the NDC has developed the Volta region more than any party in the history of Ghana. But cheap propaganda from the NPP has undermined the party's performance in the region. He charged the Volta region to eschew what he described as the lies of the NPP and vote massively for the NDC in the upcoming elections.
We don't take the Volta region for granted. And despite the propaganda that NPP continuously subjects the people of Volta region to, I dare say that any time NDC has come into office, we make sure that the Volta region gets its fair share of the national cake. Anytime we come in office, we invest in the things that will change the lives of the people. We provide facilities for our secondary schools, dormitory blocks, administration blocks, classrooms, dining halls. We provide buses for secondary schools. We provide health facilities, CHIPS compounds, health centers, hospitals. We provide universities. When we said we were going to build UHAS, they were laughing at Professor Mills. They went and took a picture of the site and said he had formed a university for snakes and lizards and reptiles. Today, some people are taking honorary degrees from UHAS.
Meanwhile, the flag bearer of the opposition NDC, John Mahama, has described the yet-to-be-unveiled manifesto of the governing NPP as a manifesto of lies. The NPP is scheduled to launch its 2024 manifesto on August 18 in Takoradi. However, addressing the Asogli chiefs in Ho in the Volta region, John Mahama said the policy document of the NDC will contain lies and no Ghanaian should fall for it. He said that the NPP in 2016 and 2020, the NPP's manifesto in 2016 and 2020 was full of lies, and same will be repeated with the 2024 manifesto.
They say on 18th August, they are launching their manifesto. They did their manifesto in 2016 and then they did in 2020. It's always full of lies and promises. So on 18th they will launch the manifesto of lies and tell you, we're coming to do this for you, we're coming to do this for you. But they say first fool, second fool, who is the third fool? The third fool is the real fool. In 2016, the same manifesto they came and deceived us with. 1 million per constituency per year. 1 district, 1 factory. 1 village, 1 dam. 1 child, 1 egg. 1 child, 1 chocolate. They say
away from politics, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, has justified the investigative work it did on the Airbus scandal, which justified former President John Dramani Mahama as the government official one, but no evidence of bribery against him. The OSP said that it upheld an impartial approach and assessed all the available documents in arriving at the conclusion. The OSP has found no evidence of corruption involving John Mahama or others. Throughout the investigations, the OSP upheld an impartial approach rigorously, assessing all available evidence and safeguarding the process from external interference. The OSP posted on the X platform. The Appointments Committee of Parliament's vetting of 2 Supreme Court judges was not without chaos, as the minority in Parliament objected to the President's appointment of 2 new judges to the Apex Court. The Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga, challenged President Akufo-Addo's authority to appoint more than 9 justices to the Supreme Court, arguing that such a move violates Article 128 Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution, which he claims set a limit on the number of justices. His objection was, however, shut down by the chairperson of the Appointments Committee, APJ, ruling that it lacked merits.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Madam Chair, we are here again because I think
that even if you are adding one to the 10, Is that okay? It should be backed by law, either a constitutional instrument or an act of parliament. That is all that I have said. And as for when it suits, it has never suited me to obstruct somebody from becoming a Supreme Court judge. Is that okay? But our duty here as gatekeepers of our Constitution is to do our job without fear or favor. There are people that have been presented here that I like. I've read their writings, I've read their judgments. I mean, I know their family members. Some of them went to schools that I went to, and I know that by virtue of the schools they went to, they are competent and etc. But because I went to those same schools, I also know that I have a duty to my Constitution, and I must interpret it properly. And if anybody is a president and I'm to guide that person, I will show the person how to do the work properly. So please, we are not here doing partisan work. I said every president that I have known since the number was increased beyond 10 has violated this, and we parliamentarians have condoned it by allowing it to pass without ever question.
Still on the vetting, the minority has also asked Supreme Court nominee Professor Richard Frimpong Opong to renounce his Canadian citizenship after he appeared before the Parliamentary Appointments Committee. The demand was made by the minority leader, Dr. Kaysel Latoforsen, who said his dual citizenship status was in contravention of the law. He further insisted that Professor Opong must relinquish his foreign citizenship before being considered for the role.
Obviously paving way for you to go through this process. But the question here is that, first of all, the Supreme Court in their own decision has equated the citizenship and allegiance as one thing. And secondly, even the process started before this very ruling, 24th April ruling was made, just like that of Honorable Jache Kwesi.
So you don't qualify.
In my view,
respectfully,
even if we are to waive that ruling and the timelines, I'll find it very difficult in view of Michael Ankuma Nyimfa versus Jache Kwesi, the Electoral Commission of Ghana and the Attorney General of Ghana. That decision of Supreme Court, which is binding on all of us, I'll find it very difficult knowing that allegiance and citizenship are the same, being equated according to Supreme Court, to accordingly recommend you for approval. For me, that is a very difficult one, and that is why I ask you, and I'm very impressed looking at your CV. You are someone, I mean, age mates, we are age mates, and you are someone, and if I can become a minority leader at this age, you can also be a Supreme Court judge at your age. We are the same age group. But that is a problem for me, and I believe that you should take steps to renounce your citizenship, and then we will be able to recommend you for plenary. Until then,
we'll bring you more on this development in our subsequent bulletin. Away from that and into health, the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, has officially declared the ongoing Mpox outbreak a public health emergency of continental security, marking the first such declaration by the agency since its inception in 2017. Under Article 3, Paragraph F of the Africa CDC Statutes, this declaration empowers the organization to lead and coordinate responses to significant health emergencies. The statute mandates Africa CDC to coordinate and support member states in health emergency responses, particularly those declared PHECs or public health emergencies of international concern, as well as health promotion and disease prevention through health systems strengthening, addressing communicable and non-communicable diseases, environmental health, and neglected tropical diseases. Still on health, the recent outbreak of dengue fever has so far hit 6 regions in the country, with over 100 cases recorded. The Ghana Health Service says all cases are mild and are being managed at home, while the service remains on high alert. Ghana started recording dengue fever cases about 6 weeks ago. The viral infection, which is transmitted by the Aedes mosquito, is gradually spreading sporadically across the country. Out of the over 100 cases recorded so far, the Eastern region, which was the first to report some cases, remains the region with the highest case count, followed by the Central region. The Oti region has 2 cases, the Ashanti region 4, the Bono region also has 4, and the Volta region has 5 cases. The service says it's early days yet for the dengue fever vaccines, but discussions are ongoing. In our subsequent bulletin, we'll be bringing you more on the mpox, where we'll be speaking with the Ghana Health Service. The Minister for Interior, Henry Korte, has by executive instrument renewed the curfew hours imposed on Boko municipality and its environs in the Upper East region. The curfew starts from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. effective Tuesday, August 13, 2024. Government calls on chiefs, elders, opinion leaders, youth and people of the area to exercise restraint in the face of the challenges confronting them, as well to use non-violent means to channel their energies into ensuring peace. The statement issued by the Interior Ministry on Tuesday, August 13, further placed a total ban on all persons in the aforementioned communities and its environs from carrying arms, ammunition, or any offensive weapon, and any persons found with any arms or ammunition will be arrested and prosecuted. Let's move away from security and into the world of sports. The 2024-2025 CAF Inter-Club season commences on August 16, with the preliminary rounds of the Total Energies CAF Champions League and CAF Confederation Cup. The first preliminary round, first leg, will take place between August 16 and 18, with the return leg scheduled for August 23 to August 25. The exact match schedules and kickoff times will be communicated by CAF once the participating teams have confirmed their home venues and dates. Let's get into the world of international news. In international news, President Bola Tinubu has approved a national policy aimed at addressing the increasing migration of medical experts from Nigeria. The policy, a comprehensive strategy to manage, retain, and reverse the trend of health workers leaving the country. The policy calls on recipient countries to implement a one-on-one match training a one-on-one match, training one worker to replace every publicly trained Nigerian worker they receive. This approach aims to protect national interests while respecting the rights and aspirations of Nigerian healthcare professionals. Let's get into entertainment. According to the Deputy Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Makokreku Mante, politics does not hinder the careers of creatives. He points to the success of musician Kwabena Kwabena, whose career flourished after endorsing Nana Akufo-Addo, the new Patriotic Party presidential candidate in 2008. Makokreku Mante notes that Kwabena Kwabena's political endorsements did not harm his career. Instead, they contributed to his increased fame, proving that with the right approach, politics can enhance the careers of creatives. For joining us for the midday news, but before we go, a look at our top stories. KNUST pursues defaulting lecturers for salary recovery. Alan Tremantin vowed to tackle Galamsey if elected president. Inverting the minority drag Supreme Court nominee over dual citizenship status. In the world of business, tax exemptions cost Ghana 1.85% of annual GDP, World Bank estimates. And international news, Nigeria's President Tinubu approves policy to retain medical experts. For more news, visit us on www.abcnewsgh.com. Interact with us on social media at abcnewsgh. I am Abuna Mante. Have a good afternoon.